Avatar, Fire and Ash. This will be a spoiler review. I have a review up on my blog, soundofbettermyhead.com. Should be pretty much spoiler free, so if you want to check that out first or instead of this, or whatever makes you happy, go for it. I gave this a 3, but I think it was a generous 3. First of all, I think that Avatar movies are a little bit different than the average movie. I think Avatar, especially if you see it in 3D, which I did end up doing with this one, I've done it with all 3 of them. When you see it in 3D, it's like in the theater, it's more like an experience. Like you're just pulled into this movie more than you normally are. You're almost living this world, especially when the movies are so long. You're just kind of in this world for like a couple hours. It's like just not the same after you get out of the movie. I think the difference here is the first 2 times I really enjoyed the experience, especially the first Avatar. This time I kind of found myself a little bored. I'm just like, okay, let's try to wrap this up. And it is a 3-hour plus movie. I think it's like 3:17. It's the longest of the Avatars. So again, I think the experience is usually is the selling point. Like, yes, if these movies are good, but it's really good if you're there, and it's just good if you're watching at home or whatever. I think this time it was just good with the experience. So I don't know. I think the replay value, if someone's watching at home, it's not as high as I would say some of the other ones. If that makes any kind of sense. But like the other one, this is just a gorgeous looking movie. Just especially the character designs. Those big, I don't know what they call those. These big blimp basket things that are carrying people from to and from early in film. Those things just look absolutely amazing, and just put that on the backdrop of Pandora, and it's just pretty odd, jaw dropping. And there's not a lot of other new stuff. It's a lot of the same creatures and stuff we see in the previous film, and also the original. But still, like everything just looks amazing. The special effects are just pretty much flawless. There's not really a lot of parts you could be like, oh yeah, that looks a little off. Although there is a little thing, and this happened in the last one too, where it's almost too HD. Like everything's just so crisp and so clear that everything looks a little bit fake. Even like the real people, like you see a real person, and even they don't look right. But I think it's so consistent that everything blends together. Like the aliens and the people, they all look a little bit off, but that makes it seem more like they're real. If that makes also any kind of sense. Plot-wise, this is where I think the movie, besides the runtime, I think the runtime really hurts it. Plot-wise, I think this is where you have an issue. This feels like there isn't that much of a plot. I think the first part of the problem is this is really a direct continuation of the last Avatar. You told that story. There's not that much of I don't know if they even say, but it's not much of a break between the two. And then you're basically continuing the story. It's not really as much of a new story. It's continuing that story. And I think it ends up recycling a lot of the same beats. Just character-wise, definitely a bit. Seems like, especially there's a lot of points where people are just getting kidnapped or getting held like hostage. This character just gets caught and someone's holding a knife to his throat and someone else is being threatened. Do this or we're going to kill this person. I think that happens like two or three times in this movie. I think there's several points where somebody gets captured and somebody else has to like come and rescue them. And I think that also happened a few times in the last movie. So between the two, it's just like, oh, now someone's captured again. Now this person's captured again, and then they have to get rescued, and then someone else gets captured. It's a little redundant. I think the action scenes is shockingly like redundant. Going back to the plot again, it just doesn't feel like it's really necessarily going anywhere. It's like, okay, where is this going? What's the finale gonna be? What's the big battle? And there's no end game in sight. And then finally, you're like, okay, all these whales are gathering, and they're sending some ships, so maybe it's gonna add up this big battle over the whales. I'm like, that's how the last one ended. So you basically got the sea battle again, like you had in the last one, and a bit more of like an air battle as you did in the original Avatar. It's like we just saw this a couple years ago. Like this is nothing new. In fact, the plot gets weird. I had a couple thoughts as I was watching it because I had too much time to think because a lot of it was just like, okay, there's nothing's really going on here. It's like just binging an entire season of like a show in like one sitting and not getting up, and the episode's not even really ending. It just goes right into the next episode. You don't even know where one episode stops and no other begins. It just felt like I was in there that long watching the show with stuck with these characters, and it's just the plot wasn't so well defined. It just kind of felt like stuff was happening, which was weird because it almost made it felt like more real. Like you're just thrown in this situation and this shit just keeps happening. People, those battles and chaos. So I almost felt like I was absorbed in the chaos aspect of it. Like I'm thrown in this, and since it's so immersive, it's like wow, I'm stuck in there with these people and this shit's happening. But the other end, it doesn't feel like a movie, and the story just wasn't engaging me as much. I think overall the character's a little bit better this time, even though it's basically the same people. There was just too much the last film. They just dropped it on you. It was like, okay, they had a son, and then they had another son, and then they adopted a daughter, and then they had another son, or another daughter, and then they adopted a human, and there was so much going on. There was so many characters in the last film, whereas this was, besides the spoiler for the last one, the oldest brother dying, it's the same basic character, but I think it gives a little bit better of a chance to focus on them. Like everyone gets a little bit better chance to shine, and there's not as much going on. And plus, you do know who these characters are. I think Spider was less annoying this time, which is a big plus because he's kind of a focus. Quaritch is back. They struggle with him. There's points where it's like, okay, where are they going with this character? It's like they feel like you're doing something with him. He's not just a villain. He's obviously, we knew in the last film he's got a kid that he cares about, but didn't really feel like there was as much of a conflict between him and his mission this time around. Like, I'm a soldier. Yeah, I want my kid, but this didn't feel like conflict like as much as I would like. It just felt like, at the end of the day, I'm a soldier and I'm just gonna get this done, whatever it takes. And I wish, and Jake even tries to, get him on board a couple times. Like, look, you're a Na'vi now, basically. Like, open your eyes, see the world through your new eyes, and it never really happens. And I guess he dies at the end, or he throws himself off the thing. It's such a vague ending that they could easily, in the next film, it's like, no, he was fine, and now he's back. Or the new female villain, Varang, I thought she had a lot of potential. I think first thing that hurts her is you don't know anything about her for a lot of the film. Some of the marketing material, they tell you that their village was destroyed. So I knew that going in, but the movie doesn't tell you that. She's just this angry chick that's like leading her tribe to attack everybody. They don't really get into it till late. And like I said, she's got potential. There's like a lot of layers to her that are just under the surface, and she is a little bit scenery chewing, but it's kind of fun every time she's on screen. But they never take her to that next level where it's like, I don't know, there's just something missing where she could have been like a really cool villain, and I don't quite get there. And again, she just kind of runs off at the end. So if they do another Avatar, I guess we'll see what happens to her. I know the original plan was to do like 4 or 5 of these Avatar films. Cameron mentioned that if this third one doesn't make enough money or doesn't make his money back or however that works out, he's cool with stopping with the 3. He said he may write a book or something to finish the story, but I didn't feel like it was like, aside from Varang taking off, I didn't feel like there was any kind of major loose ends or anything, or like, oh, we really need to see what happens. In fact, I really don't care. The conflict, especially with the conflict with the humans, it's been done so many times and just slightly different. I just don't want to see that again. I said she was interesting first, going up against like an evil Na'vi tribe. That was kind of cool. But if they do it again, it's like, okay, now you lost the luster. And there was also this team up of Quaritch and Varang that could have had potential too. Like basically having like an evil version of Jake and Neytiri, where it just you knew it wouldn't last because these guys were basically, they had their own agendas, so it's like they're really conflicting agendas, but they're just working together because it seemed like it helped them. But it was an interesting period. I think Quaritch actually had some funny moments, like the few real good laughs in the film. But again, there's a lot of potential in some of this character stuff. It just didn't follow through. And the rest of the character arcs were fine. We still haven't gotten into the mystery of like the Great Mother helping everybody. What's going on with that and why she chose to create a child, basically. Not that I need to know that. I think it's. I actually like that. I prefer that as a mystery. There was a couple okay emotional moments. You know, a couple moments actually generally got me. Not so much like sad, but just like, oh, that's made me smile because it was a really cool character to be. Where it's like, that made me happy. I don't think there's too much else I want to say. I think that's the big stuff. The movie's 3 hours. I don't think this review needs to be even near that. This still don't even really need to be a 20-minute review. Again, I was, if it was shorter, I think I could have really said this was fine. I could have easily said this is a solid 3, maybe even went up to a 3.5 on it, and be recommending it to people. But as long as it is, unless you're really hardcore into this storyline, it's not like the Lord of the Rings where everybody was hardcore into those stories, so it didn't matter what was really going on in the third one. You know, they could have sat there for 6 hours and watched it. I'm not into the Na'vi and Pandora and all that stuff as much as James Cameron wants us to be at this point. So that's about it. Like I said earlier, I do have a spoiler-free version of this review. I have other movie reviews. I have TV show reviews. I got a comic strip that I do regularly. I got all that stuff at soundedbettermyhead.com. So if you want to go check any of that stuff out, go for it. I think that'd be pretty awesome if you do. And other than that, thanks for watching.